Well, it's finally here, part 3. I recognize that we are now a quarter of the way into 2022, and that this video probably should have come out many months ago, but surprisingly enough, I'm a busy person and didn't have the time to just sit down and shoot this video until now. So here we are, my top 25 movies of 2021. I'm going to try to keep it a little brief, because I know the last two were a little long. I, rambled on about what I hated about things like Eternals and The Power of the Dog. But here, it's pretty much just, praise and a little bit of, criticism here and there. But otherwise, I like these movies. These are all good in my book. 2021 was kind of an interesting year for movies because there was a lot of good stuff and then a lot of just kind of middle-of-the-road things that, you'd expect in the second year of a COVID pandemic. This year, it's picking up. There's already been a lot of great things. I've already spoken on the channel about The Batman and Everything Everywhere All at Once, both of which I have now seen twice, so that is a testament to my love for both of those films. But let's get to the video, which is starting off with films from last year. So coming in at number 25, we have Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings. It's a Marvel movie. You're gonna get all the Marvel things you expect, but there's also some really incredibly well-shot action. I was really impressed. Probably the best action we've ever seen in the MCU, which is saying a lot because the MCU knows how to do action. It's just like, it borrows a lot from, very traditional and classic martial arts films. You've got your all-star cast of Tony Leung and Michelle Yeoh just bring a lot of gravitas to the whole thing. So yeah, this is a good one. Number 24, we've got Tick, Tick, Boom. So Andrew Garfield was nominated for an Oscar for this. He was fantastic. He's far and away the best part of this movie. There's a lot of issues that I have with the direction. I think Lin-Manuel Miranda can get a little bit self-congratulatory sometimes. The diner sequence where they sing Sunday annoyed me to no end, but Andrew Garfield saved this one and really made it a memorable experience for me to watch. Number 23, we have The Lost Daughter. Maggie Gyllenhaal wrote and directed this, which is really cool to see because I love her as an actress, and I think it's awesome that she's branching out. Olivia Colman was great. I know there's been some hate for this, but I don't really get that. I thought it was really intricately done. The plot was kind of like subtle enough that it wasn't too over the top, but it also kept you engaged, so I liked it a lot. Number 22, we've got The French Dispatch, Wes Anderson's latest. I don't even know what to call his genre anymore. It's pretty much just him. He's created his own niche. But yeah, it has all the things you'd expect. It was really funny. A lot of tonal shifts that make a lot of sense. It had probably the best cast that he's had in a movie. It's pretty much everyone who's been in any of his films just crammed in, because it's essentially 3 different movies in one movie, because it's all about these 3 journalists who go off and tell these 3 separate stories, which I thought was a really cool narrative structure, and I had a great time with it. Number 21, we've got King Richard. This one really slapped. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna leave after that one. Number 20, Zack Snyder's Justice League. I know it's 4 hours long, but it's a good movie. The original cut is abysmal. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen in a theater. It shouldn't have been released. This version is much better. I mean, the characters were fleshed out. Just the only thing that's, a little bit problematic is that it takes Snyder 4 hours to tell a good story. So, you tell me if he's a good director or not. Number 19, back-to-back DC. DC had a pretty good year this year overall. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, just an unabashedly, hilarious and off-the-walls kind of a comedy, but it also had some gore, had some darkness, so I like that. James Gunn's able to balance those tones really well, and it came to a head here. The characters weren't as, incredibly developed, and they didn't have a bond they had in Guardians of the Galaxy, his previous work, but it worked well enough for me. Number 18, don't make fun of me, but it's Don't Look Up. I did not hate this. I actually really liked it, and I feel like it's kind of elicited the strongest reaction from me. When I finished watching it, I just had this minor panic attack because I felt like it just felt so real in my eyes. And I know there's a lot of things wrong with the movie, but frankly, I don't care. It has a great cast. It's funny. The dramatic moments work. Adam McKay knows how to blend that. I just really enjoy Adam McKay's directorial style. That's what I'm going to say. I liked Vice, and I like this. Sorry. Number 17, Nightmare Alley. Too long, but the thematic elements here just made this one really good. The Best Picture nomination was a little bit out of left field, but honestly, I respect it. I think it's better than Tick Tick Boom. Just it is, so I'm glad that it got shoved in there at the last second. But yeah, and visually incredible. Del Toro continues to impress, so keep up the good work. Number 16, we've got Mitchells vs. the Machines, a surprisingly good animated movie from Netflix. Netflix originals are known to be, you know, kind of here and there. They have some great stuff and some mostly awful stuff. So I was like, oh, a Netflix animated movie, this is not going to be great. But it was. The animation style was incredible, everything about it. I love this movie. Number 15, we've got The Tragedy of Macbeth. Now, I couldn't really understand what they were saying for half the time, but half the time I pretty much, you know, could pick up on most of it. So I could decipher the fact that Denzel was really, really good in this movie. I mean, he brought it to life, and I felt like had it not been Denzel in that role, or somebody with, you know, such theatrical presence, it might not have hit me as hard. But I felt like Denzel paired with the incredible production design and cinematography made this, you know, a worthwhile watch for me. Number 14, we've got Licorice Pizza. I liked it. I saw it twice. Look, I know there's a controversy with the age gap, but I'm pretty sure 3 years passed throughout the film, and Cooper Hoffman's character's 18 at the end. It's still not great, and I don't like that they're promoting like that sort of relationship. It was a little bit creepy at times, but I honestly like the episodic format. I didn't need it to be so grand. Look, it's one of those movies where the trailers were better than the movie. I'm not going to say they weren't, but the movie was still really enjoyable for me. I thought Sean Penn and Bradley Cooper were fantastic as supporting characters, and Alana Haim has some real star power. So although some people aren't the biggest fans of this movie, I really enjoyed it both times that I saw it. Number 13, we've got House of Gucci. Look, this one was just a great time. Like, I would never in a million years watch this at home. This is a movie that you have to watch with a packed audience because people were laughing hysterically. I mean, it closed to applause. Like, people loved this movie when they saw it in the theater. I don't think it's actually a great movie, but I think it was a great movie to see with a bunch of people on opening night because, look, it's Lady Gaga. She's not going to disappoint. I'm still mad that she got snubbed for the Oscar. Not even a nomination? Ridiculous. I haven't seen Parallel Mothers, but I can guarantee you Gaga was better than Penelope Cruz. I can guarantee you. Anyway, number 12, we've got Belfast, Kenneth Branagh's semi-autobiographical depiction of the Troubles. So people have kind of slammed this one for being a little too childish, but I felt like because it was portrayed through the eyes of Buddy, it was kind of perfect. I mean, people have echoed this as well. I thought the black and white format worked really well. Kind of, you know, beginning and ending was color, showing that this is kind of like a memory in his mind. And of course, children don't always have the perfect image of what their childhood was. It can always be skewed by, you know, trauma, which is especially prevalent here. But I felt like because Branagh was writing what he knew, it just worked really well because all the characters just felt so interconnected and the family dynamic was just so there. And Ciarán Hinds and Judi Dench were definitely the two standouts. I'm glad that they picked them for Oscar nominations over the parents. But yeah, really enjoyable. Jude Hill was incredible. I loved like the little romance stuff he had. It's like the Van Morrison music cues were just like really hit me in the feels. So I'm glad I got to see this. Number 11, we've got Mass. This was probably the most heartbreaking thing, the most depressing thing I've seen in a while. It's sort of like a play format. It's a one location event. You're given no context. It is these two pairs of parents whose sons were involved in a school shooting. One of the parents, their son was the shooter, and the other parents, their son was a victim. And they're meeting several years later to just talk about kind of the psychological effects of that and how their sons ended up where they were, and just kind of trying to console each other and trying to like bridge the gap between the wounds that they obviously suffered. Because the shooter, I think he's also dead as well. Or at least in prison or something. But yeah, just really, I cried definitely during this one. It like emotionally, just like it's so raw in the way that it's done, and the camera work just like it works so well because it just shows you like kind of the awkwardness and the tension, but also just like the deep moments. And I thought that it perfectly encapsulated what that conversation would be like in real life. Number 10, we've got this year's Best Picture winner, you know, which I don't fully agree with because I don't think Coda really was the highest cinematic achievement of 2021. We'll get to what I think was later. But Coda, look, Coda was a really enjoyable movie. The cast is fantastic. Troy Kotsur, Marlee Matlin. This the way that it was able to kind of shine a light on the deaf community while being open to a wide audience was just something I'd never seen before. I mean, it had everything you expect from a movie of this caliber. It felt like it was both a teen comedy and a family drama at the same time. It worked in all those elements, and the music stuff was great. I love the scenes when the parents were kind of like reacting to her singing, their daughter singing, in the auditorium, and even when the dad put his hand on her throat to hear her song, you know, in his own special way. Those were just so emotional, and I was really touched by just the care that was put into like every performance and every shot. Not that the cinematography was like off the charts, but I think this is really a nice one to have during the times that we're living in, and I get why it won Best Picture. I just don't think I would have voted for it if I was in the Academy. Number 9, we've got Nobody. Bob Odenkirk's action thriller. The editing here, I mean, honestly, this is just a great time. I said before, Shang-Chi had great action. This had great action in that it's all so like in the trenches and visceral, and you're just getting all those shots and really understanding like what this would really be like if it happened, and kind of the way they weave the main character's backstory into the plot. I just found really fascinating, and I just felt like every action sequence, every conflict was just so meticulously crafted, and the cinematography was just bouncing all around. It was like sort of Michael Bay style, but like less wild, less crazy. I haven't seen Ambulance yet. I don't really plan on it. You know, you guys let me know in the comments if it's good. Number 8, we've got The Last Duel, Ridley Scott's first movie of the year. And I went into this really knowing nothing besides the fact that it was about a duel and that I would see ads for it while watching the Mets games. But I had only previously seen Jodie Comer in Free Guy, which I talked about in the last video. And so seeing her in this was just a huge step up. And frankly, I'm shocked that she wasn't in the conversation for the Oscar this year. I think the Oscars were totally screwed up this year. This movie should have been in many categories. I think it could have been viable for picture, director, cinematography, screenplay, best actress, best supporting actor. I just felt like there were so many missed opportunities with this film for the Academy this year, and that really is disappointing because this movie was really, really good. And the fact that Ridley Scott, a white man who's aging, he's been around for a while, was able to make a movie this unashamedly feminist, and it really just like promoted this female character, which you wouldn't expect from a filmmaker like Ridley Scott. So props to Ridley. I mean, of course, Matt and Ben wrote the script, so they're a little more progressive in their views. But like, honestly, I was really impressed with every aspect of this. The one issue that I had was that the Adam Driver and Matt Damon relationship wasn't as fleshed out or as set up as it could have been. I didn't feel like they were friends at all in the movie, and then it just kind of like dove right into the conflict about, you know, this woman who is kind of like caught in the middle. But otherwise, really impressed. Number 7, we've got Encanto, Disney Animation's latest effort, and the soundtrack here was incredible. Of course, written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. He just did so much this past year. He had In the Heights, he had Tick Tick Boom, he had this. He just was like working himself to the bone, and I think this is the greatest product that he put out in 2021. Obviously, the Bruno song sort of went viral. Probably the most popular that a Disney song has been since Moana or even since Frozen. So that's super awesome. I'm glad to see it getting recognition like that. And even the plot, like, I didn't mind there being no villain. I felt like the family-centric themes were really important to like the structure of the film itself. And I was engaged from start to finish. I thought the characters were really interesting, and kind of like the way that they all, you know, had their special roles in the family. And of course, the main character is the one who was kind of left out of that. I thought that was a super cool exploration of just a regular family dynamic. Number 6, we have Pig. I know, it's Nick Cage, but he's actually really good in this movie. He kicks a car at one point, that was fun. He loses his pig, that's what happens. I'm not gonna give too much away, but if you're looking for like a nice dramatic thriller to watch, like a little unsettling, there's some comedy thrown in there, but just a great, fantastic performance from a Hollywood legend who has kind of been, you know, has had his ups and downs as far as movies go. Had some great classics, had some flops, some horrible stuff, but this is definitely one of his career best performances. So really good. Bringing us into the top 5, we've got A Quiet Place Part 2. I would say this is, almost as good or even as good as the original. I respect the fact that they were able to kind of have it be a part 2. It led right after it. I thought Cillian Murphy was an incredible addition to the cast, because John Krasinski kind of was only in the beginning. And seeing the trailers, I was kind of a little bit nervous about the fact that he kind of wrote himself into the movie, but the flashbacks actually mattered, and they actually came back. And I think as a 2-parter, or probably a 3 later on, because this definitely did not wrap the story up at all, being only an hour and a half. I think this could make for a fantastic modern horror trilogy. Number 4 was Come On, Come On. This was another overlooked movie by the Academy. I mean, just completely glossed over. I have some choice words for the voters this year. I mean, The Power of the Dog, Last Duel, and Come On, Come On, 100 times better than that film. But that is neither here nor there. I'm just here to talk about how great Joaquin Phoenix and Woody Norman were in this movie. Their chemistry really drives the plot forward, and I think if you're looking for like a nice, kind of full of heart, I guess it's sort of a comedy and a drama, but A24 is knocking it out of the park time and time again this year, and I think Come On, Come On is a testament to their storytelling abilities. Joaquin Phoenix is also sort of a weird guy in real life, so to have him playing sort of a weird, quirky, sort of, strange character, which he has before, obviously. In Her, he was strange, and in Joker, that goes without saying. But here, he's like sort of passing as a normal guy, but has these weird quirks that you wouldn't notice at first. Like in the first 30 minutes, it seems like he's just a regular documentarian. But as you get more and more into that like family structure, you see that there's something's not quite right with their situation. And I thought that was fantastic, and just like the way that it approaches kind of dealing with life. Number 3, I know it seems like I'm just supporting the big corporate machine and the snake eating its tail and just all these things that have been said about this film. But look, I saw it 4 times. I enjoyed it. This film, of course, is Spider-Man No Way Home. It was a crowd pleaser. I understand that it's a nostalgia trip. I understand it's not a great film. Judging it just as a film in and of itself, I would probably only give it about a 7.5 out of 10. But because we've been living in this Marvel-controlled world for the past 20 years if you count the original Spider-Mans, it just works so well narratively. All the villains coming together. It's just like, I had a grin on my face. I was laughing. Like it was emotional. I felt like this is exactly the superhero film that was necessary to sort of revitalize the box office and the movie-going community. So I'm glad that it came out when it did. It just feels like we need original ideas, and not that this was, bad by any stretch. This is a really, really good movie, and of course I enjoyed it more because of the Marvel effect. But films like The Batman, which I've spoken on already, are, better for the film world and the future of film than this was, because this is just more of, Marvel Chapter 27 or whatever they're on now, which of course I love. You can see I have an Avengers poster right here, and I have a Captain America shield somewhere. So I do love Marvel. That being said, I love original content, and I wish Marvel wouldn't be the only ones to make $1.8 billion in the box office. I think a movie like Everything Ever All at Once could stand to make a few more dollars. It's doing well for an A24 movie, but if people would see that there's more to the movie-going experience than just seeing Tom Holland, Benedict Cumberbatch, Chris Hemsworth for the 40,000th time, I just wish that would happen. Bringing us into the top 2, West Side Story. Spielberg has had his ups and downs. He's mostly made bangers. He mostly made fantastic movies. His style, usually it works in a very specific, formulaic way. Here it was different because, of course, this is a reimagining of a classic play, classic movie. And I gotta say, I'm not the biggest fan of the original film. I'm not. First of all, because of the just very direct and noticeable racism that is included in that film. And second of all, just I think cinematically we weren't at the point where we could fully tell that story in the 60s. And I think, they did what they could. But here, there are just so many more technical elements that just make it grand. And, all the actors are incredible. People have said Ansel Elgort was boring. I don't think he was. I think he was much better than Richard Beymer in the original, who's probably the most cardboard love interest I've ever seen in my entire life in a movie. But of course, Ariana DeBose is fantastic, Rachel Zegler fantastic, and Spielberg's direction. His long takes really worked here. I just thought this is probably his best thing in 20 years. Of course, number one, the best movie of the year, the greatest cinematic achievement, is Denis Villeneuve's Dune. I mean, what else is there to say? Watch my review. Thank you guys. Helpful as always to like, subscribe, notifications. Not sure where each button is, but yeah, have a great spring season and happy Easter if you celebrate. See you next time.